Hello and welcome back to the Student Hub Live. Okay, this is the news. We have some really great news items lined up for you. And firstly, I have Helen Croft from the library, who you will have seen on our library tour. Helen, you're going to tell us about Open Tree. It's the first anniversary, almost to the day.
It is. It's very exciting. So when we launched Open Tree last year, it was in October. And since then, we've had 1,329 OU staff and students using Open Tree.
Brilliant.
Yeah, Open Tree, for those who aren't familiar, is a game that allows you to earn points and badges for accessing online library resources and web pages. And you can also earn points and badges for following challenges, for making friends, for writing reviews of resources.
And what do you do with those points?
Well, you sit on them and you feel proud of yourself.
Okay, good. But the idea, I guess, what's really, in all seriousness, what's really great about this is it's a community thing, isn't it?
Exactly. So, yeah, the point of it is making friends and finding out what resources your friends are accessing, because that's a great way to, get recommendations for what you should be using as well. So if I could just show you quickly.
That would be brilliant.
So you can get to Open Tree from the library homepage. There's a direct link there.
We know all about that. So going on to Student Home, Library, and then the homepage.
Fantastic. So this is actually Nicola's page, who was just on recently. So she's got 23 badges here. She's got over 30,000 points, look, and she's got a fantastic tree with lots of lights on it. She's on level 9.
She loves the library, though. And who's her friends?
Well, if you go to her friends page, I'm her friend.
Okay, all right.
You can also find friends. So once you sign up, you can find friends by module code, see who else is on Open Tree with your module, so you can make friends that way. You can also search. If you search for library, all of the library staff have library in their name, so you can befriend us, and we'd welcome you to. And you can recommend resources to us. You can see what library staff are accessing. So yeah, and actually since in that year, the total number of unique resources, so individual resources that have been accessed, is 35,000.
Wow.
So that just shows you, how much it's being used.
Okay. So what's the benefit then? I guess for most people, they're interested in what other students are looking at from their modules or their discipline areas to sort of see, I guess, what's hot right now in terms of stuff that's being accessed from the library.
Exactly.
What sorts of things could you find?
Well, so it's all of the online library resources, so the e-books, the e-journals, all of the academic content, but also library web pages. So, for example, I wrote a review of a page that tells you how you set up Google Scholar so that it links with the library.
I want to look that up.
Yeah. So I grabbed that page and I quickly highlighted it and I wrote a review and I said, this is really useful. If you're going to be using Google Scholar, then have a look at these instructions on how you set it up. So yeah, it's about making friends. It's about identifying resources that other students have highlighted or written reviews of, and it's a game. So it's building your tree, making sure you get all the lights on your tree.
So what do the colours mean then in terms of the tree? Is it just pretty and decorative?
It's just pretty and decorative.
Okay,
yeah.
But you can see, I guess, how much stuff people are getting, so you know which friends are getting more things. And like at the Student Hub Live, people have been sharing a lot of links, and in particular, how to set up your Google Scholar, for example, so you don't have to cut and paste things back into Library Search to get them for free. Those sorts of things will be really useful, and I guess you do get some people who are very pro that sort of thing, so they're good to be friends with.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And the idea of this is it's the whole idea of gamification. It's basically, if you make a game of it, people will engage more. So like you said, it's the community building and it's also making a game of it, and building your tree.
Excellent. Well, Helen Croft, thank you so much for coming and showing us that. That looks really, really fun. And we'll put a link for that on the website so you can too go and build your tree and make your friends and share advice and information. So thank you very much, Helen, for showing us. Okay, let's take a quick fire round to the social media desk. Sophie and HJ, what's going on?
It's lunchtime.
Yes. Ding! 12 o'clock.
So we're discussing what people are having for lunch. We've just got a big plate of biscuits now. So that'll...
I managed to nab some. So me and Robert were talking about how the first mission was getting cakes and the second one has been biscuits. So this one has been very successful. So this should last us about a few minutes.
I hope so.
But one of the things we were talking about from the library is that they let you have the SCONAL access scheme that lets you use the library near you and use the study spaces and borrow books. So we're very pleased to know about that.
I didn't actually know about that until now. So
there we go.
Always 4 years.
We even learn lots of stuff sitting here. Yes. So yeah, I think we're ready to go with lunch and Yeah.
Brilliant, excellent. All right, well, while you're having your lunch, we're going to crack on with our programme. And I've got Alison Green in the studio now. Welcome, Alison. Now, you're doing something really exciting. You've completely reinvented the curriculum for psychology, and now you're moving on to do something entirely different. And you wanted to talk about creative industries, and we've got some widgets that we're going to show now during the duration of the next few minutes of this news section. We'd like to know a bit about whether you'd like to be interested in studying the creative industries, what sorts of things you're interested in, postgraduate, undergraduate, list up to 3 that you'd be interested in, and some of the categories that you think apply to you. So we're going to put those up there now, and we'd like you to vote on them, but we need to explain a bit about the context of all of this. So what are you doing?
Well, one of the most interesting opportunities for me at the moment, I think, is looking at what new developments we can come up with for our curriculum. And so the one that's really captured my imagination, and I'm really interested to find if it captures our students' imagination too, is around creative industries. So the creative industries are booming, which is fantastic. We've seen a huge increase in the number of jobs in creative industries, so we're at 1.9 million jobs. And that's an increase of 20% in the last 5 years. So there's a great opportunity there, I think, for students who are thinking of studying. And I'm really interested to find out whether that's the sort of thing they would like to study with us. So I'm interested in the kinds of creative industries that we mean are things like filmmaking, music production, creative design, but also things in graphic design, computing, anything from that sort of thing to managing festivals, which sounds really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can imagine a lot of people be interested in that. But as you say, it's a growth area, a very exciting area, an area that other universities are often supplying, quite niche, specific things about. So you're really scoping something new and saying, hey, should we be doing this at the Open University? And should we be doing it, I guess, in terms of a whole qualification? Or is it something that maybe people want to tap onto an open degree? Are those the sorts of things you're interested in finding out?
Those are the kinds of things. So we'd like to find out whether you'd be interested in studying for a full qualification in something like creative industries generally, or whether you'd be interested in something that might be focused in a particular area, like, for example, music. We already have a qualification in creative writing, for example, which is hugely popular. We have hundreds of students studying that and enjoying it. So I think for me the questions are, what would students like to study? Would they like to study a qualification or just a module as part of an open degree or part of our arts degree?
Brilliant. And we're taking a quick snapshot there of what you think at home. But how else are you going to be finding out about this? What's the process? And when, if students say, yes, we'd like this sort of thing, when might it come into being? What's the sort of time frame for developing
there's
this?
A lot of,
I know you move fast. But
we try and move fast. When we know that there's evidence that students want to study things, then we will try and move as fast as we can. So the process is thinking about the curriculum we currently have. Is it fit for purpose? If it isn't, what more do we need to do? What planning do we need to do to design it properly? And then conversations with colleagues to make sure that we brainstorm, which is really exciting, having those discussions around new opportunities. I think we're talking about, a couple of years perhaps, but we will try and move quickly if this looks to be something that people really want to do.
Brilliant, excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming in. I'm going to feed that information back. And if you haven't voted on that yet, please do select your choice from those 5 widgets so that we can feed back to Alison what sorts of things you'd be interested in doing. Right, next up on the show, we're going to be talking to Simon Bell. Now, Simon's coming back tonight, and he's going to be doing a session on who's afraid of the big bad environment, because he's written a book, and this is very exciting. Welcome, Simon. Thank you.
Hi.
How's the book going? How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. It's going well.
Good.
Yes, it's good. 2 books, not just 1 book, 2 books.
Right, you have been busy. OK, good. Now, tell our students about this and tell us the angle that you're coming at, which is quite interesting.
OK, well, there's a good tie-in, actually, to the modules we teach as well. We were doing some research 2 or 3 years ago on T219, T319, environmental management. And these are interesting modules, but they contain also group work and the containment of thinking about the environment and about climate change. And doing this, I just kept coming across worry and anxiety and fear. Yeah. And the more I studied it, the more I thought, well, this needs to be looked at in a systemic way. So we started thinking about writing a book, studying it properly, thinking about what is the fear behind climate change. And opening up that, you look all over the place and you end up with, well, Project Fear and stuff like that.
Yeah. So have you found out what the problem is?
yeah, it's in the book.
Good.
And the book's going to be, actually both books, but...
this is just a big plug, isn't it? What's interesting, though, is how you've done the book.
OK, well, there's 2 books. First of all, there's the theory book, the proper academic book, if you like. That's called Formations of Terror. And that, if you like, gives you the sort of substantial background. But we thought, let's do a graphic novel too. So let's try and make the book, if you like, sing a bit more and bring the ideas across. And you can see that the hat I'm wearing is a prop, because you can see that that I am the narrator in the graphic novel as well.
Wow.
And it tells the story about fear, about people like how Donald Trump, maybe, for example, is using fear.
And this format, I mean, the graphic novel portrays a very different sort of spin on things. Why was that important? And I guess as an academic, why isn't it important that you've then, got something that people could effectively colour in if they wanted to?
You were just talking about creativity, creative arts. I mean, we need to be creative in the way we talk about our studies. We need to think about how we're going to project what we learn. And there are lots of ways of projecting. I mean, I love ebooks and I love stuff like that. I also like comics. I think there's great ways of meeting more minds. And this is just one of them.
And so would you expect different audiences then for these two books?
Maybe.
Or are they your fans?
I don't know. I would hope that people maybe who find the idea of the academic text too heavy might find the idea of the graphic novel less so. I think, though, they tell slightly different stories about the same thing, and they tell it in different ways. So I think maybe two different markets, maybe there's an overlap there as well.
But this is one of the things, I guess, in education, is that there are different ways of communicating, isn't there?
Absolutely.
And different audiences and different purposes. And I think that's brilliant that you've managed to get two very different outputs and two different books in such a short space of time. Tell us what you're going to come and talk about tonight.
Well, Stephen Peake and I this evening are going to be talking about the formations of terror, the Project Fear, in more detail about what's going on. How can we understand fear better? How are we manipulated? How are we played with? And often without people even realising they're doing it.
No, it's such an emotive issue as well. And I don't know, I mean, I remember when we were talking about the whole session and thinking back about my relationship with fear and all of this. Yeah. Is the environment something that is intrinsically linked with fear in terms of the way that it's communicated? Is it so integral to the whole concept of it, or is it something that you think is an addition?
Well, I think the key to it is, and I don't want to give too much away from this evening, is the term shapeshifter. Anything that changes shape before our eyes, which we can't tie down, which we find very difficult to localise and say, that's what it is, that's when we start to get worried. It's when we can't really define the thing properly. And climate change, environmental change, we're constantly getting new figures, we're constantly getting an update of the story. We've got a feeling it's bad. We don't know how bad. And we don't know if we should panic, whether we should say, oh, well, goodness sake, we don't know what to do. And that's when we can get really anxious.
And so you've chosen to write books about it instead.
Yeah.
So tell us about that process then. How did that all work? Was it very different working on those two different outputs for you?
Oh, yeah. And again, what a blast. I mean, I'm used to writing books, and that's what I do. I mean, that's what academics do. We write stuff. But working with a graphic artist, in this case, Charles Cutting, and producing ideas to flow into image in a very close way. It was very different. And thinking also, how do we tell the story? How do we make this a proper story? Because it is a story. It's a story with a beginning and a middle. We don't know what the end is yet. But it's got real scope. How can we make that something visually engaging and exciting? I think we've had a kick at it.
And how was it then working with this whole pictorial side of things? I mean, pictures tell 1,000 words. You're the narrator. That must have had a lot of value-laden stuff on it on top of getting, this emotion into these images.
Sure.
How did that process work? Were you making a lot of amends? Were you saying it needs to be a bit scarier? And I guess, how did you adapt some of the essence that you were getting?
I'd come up with an idea and Charles had come back with a picture and I'd say, well, that's great, but can we do this? And he'd come back to me and say, yes, we can, but hey, that's really hackneyed, or no, you're stealing that. No, you can't use this, you can use that kind of image. Maybe we can blend it. So working with academic colleagues on co-authoring, you're often just changing ideas around. Here, we were changing the visualization of ideas around. And I realized I like diagrams. I love diagrams. People who do T219 and T319 will know how much we love diagrams. But this is a different kind of way of capturing stuff. And it just opens up so many more narratives, so many more angles on stories.
Brilliant, excellent. When are these going to turn out of pieces of paper and into real books?
Well, the Formations of Terror, I have to hand it across by the end of this year, but I think it'll be a little bit before that. The graphic novel we hope to have finished by the end of October, and we'll be doing limited print runs from then.
Brilliant, excellent. I'm really looking forward to tonight's session. I really am. It's going to be a blast. It really is. And I'm not frightened at all.
I'm terrified.
Thank you very much, Simon, for coming and talking to us, and I look forward to seeing you later. Right, next in the studio, I'm going to have Gerard Brett, who's going to talk to us about the Student Charter. Now, this may not be something that you knew about, but it is something that you should be aware of. Gerard, thank you for coming in. Pleasure. Right, you've got some interesting pieces of paper to show us. So what is it about the Student Charter that students need to know?
Right, well, it's all about the Open University's values. So it's a statement of values that have been jointly developed by the Students' Association and the Open University working together. It's not a rule book, although there are policies and procedures which are linked to the Charter. So it really describes the way in which all members of the university, both staff and students, work together in partnership for the benefit of everybody. And the university and the Students' Association is fully committed to the Charter and takes it very seriously and is fully committed to upholding the 4 key principles of the Charter.
Brilliant. I think values is such an important thing to be able to hone down on, and I can imagine the process that was involved in actually creating that charter. And we've got the link of that that you should see coming up on the screen, and you can also subscribe if you would like to our newsletter to get details about that. But honing down on these values, I guess, gives people an essence of what we're all about, what we're trying to deliver. And you mentioned that there were 4 principles, so can you tell us about those?
Yes, I can show them. Yeah,
right.
I can show
Lovely.
them. Right. So the first principle really is about being a welcoming and inclusive community. So it covers things like valuing diversity. It covers things like how we communicate with each other, how we adapt to different needs and different circumstances. So it's all about being inclusive and welcoming and working together. It's about respecting confidentiality and using information, that sort of thing.
And that's so important because we do have a very diverse student body, don't we?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's important that we're all, able to be in that space together. Lovely. What's the second one?
Right. The second one is about the responsibilities of our academic community in particular to inspire and enable learning. So it's all about things like providing choice in the curriculum, about developing and taking advantage of new technology to support students in their learning. So it's about maintaining high academic standards as well. So it's all about the academic values relating to the academic aspects of study, providing high quality distance materials. So it's, if you like, it's the staff responsibilities and staff values that this principle covers.
And we can see this in so many ways. I mean, we've heard about some of the very inspiring content, but also the way that we enable students with the help and support and access that they get to various services here so that they can then, make that leap up. You have to do it all on your own, don't you? But there is a lot of support that you can get along the way.
Yeah, and this talks about the responsibilities of staff in that respect, yes.
Excellent. OK, lovely. What's the third principle?
Right, well, actually, the third one is about the responsibilities of students for learning. So it's about students using information, advice and guidance and the services provided, using the learning resources, about students completing scheduled activities on time, engaging with us in terms of providing feedback and us responding to that feedback, of course, about students contributing to the exchange of ideas with each other and with OU staff. So this is, if Principle 2 set out staff responsibilities, Principle 3 sets out the responsibilities of students for managing their own learning, if you like.
OK, so as part of the deal, this is what we would expect people to give back and to,
right.
take control of their learning and take control of their own journey.
Exactly.
Excellent. Yes. Lovely. What's the fourth one?
Right. Last but not least, it's about working together to secure the OU's mission and promote the university's values. And that's all about being open to people, places, methods and ideas, and being inclusive, innovative and responsive. So this is all about making the Charter principles central to the OU, so that when the OU develops new policies and procedures, it always makes sure that it refers to the values of the Charter when it does that. It's also about making sure that students are involved in the governance of the university through student representatives in the Students' Association. It's about supporting the Students' Association so that the Students' Association works with its members. So it's all around those things, and importantly, making sure that we consult with students and with each other, and we listen to students and we feed back to students what we've done with their feedback. So we're genuinely working together.
Excellent. Joanne, you've shown us this, and now people will be aware of it who've watched the Student Hub Live, but how aware do you think students generally are about this charter?
I think it's activities like this which will increase awareness. Our investigations to date suggest that a good percentage of students are aware of it, and it's increasing awareness, but we do want more and more students and staff to be aware that this document encapsulates our values.
Yeah.
So there's more work to be done, and we'd be interested in what students think about the Student Charter, and there is a feedback form on the website which people could use to tell us.
Brilliant. Gerard Betts, thank you so much
Pleasure.
for coming in and giving us an outline about that. Now, we do have a lot of sessions that will detail some of the Open University Students' Association involvement and talk about student representation. We also have sessions talking about the student consultative process as well, so you can find out about how you can engage with those sorts of things also. Next, we have Suzanne. Suzanne, how are you today?
Thank you. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to your session this evening. Now, tell us, we're going to tell people what we're going to do tonight, aren't we? Last night, I had Hazel in here, and we were talking about some of the remote laboratories and the way that people can go around investigating things. And she said, oh, yes, we've been very clever because we tell our students to go and do lots of research, and then they can all get their data points together and we can really do things. But you're going to tell us about this virtual microscope, which is a way of looking at things, isn't it?
Yes, it's a way of looking at things, and I should probably turn this around and hold this into the camera for a moment.
Lovely.
So people can see. It's www.virtualmicroscope.org.
Lovely.
The .org is important because there are also others, of course.
Okay.
We've got competition. But what we have, and what Simon Kelly will talk about tonight, is we are getting all the Apollo lunar rocks that the astronauts have collected. And incidentally, the Apollo program started 50 years ago in 1966. So it's a 50 years anniversary this year for the start of the Apollo program, when they started testing all their rockets. And so we now get all the samples that they brought back, and we cut them very, very finely. And Simon Kelly will explain how this goes tonight. But you can look at the virtual microscope, and if you happen to be online, and if you look at them right now, go to collections on that page, and then go where the big picture of the moon is and explore them. And maybe for tonight they can send us what is their most favorite rock that they have seen.
Now, I've seen some of these. Some of them are very, very pretty, aren't they? And very intricate. The patterns are just beautiful.
And you don't need to know anything about the moon or about rocks to just enjoy them.
OK, brilliant. So go online and have a look at virtualmicroscope.org and tell us what your favourite image is. And we're going to be talking tonight about the 3 M's, Moon, Mercury and Mars.
Yes.
So we're going to be looking at different ways in which we have missions, we have instruments, and we have ways of researching space.
Yes, and we will be talking about meteorites, and we will be talking about how do you get a rover to Mars, and what do you do with it? That would be my topic. Dave Rothery will be talking about Mercury, I hope. And as I said, Simon Kelly about the moon, and so we have the 3 M's all covered.
Excellent. Now, just in terms of doing science and these ideas of remote laboratories and research online, this, in all seriousness, gives students a really good idea about something that they could do at a brick university, I guess, but they can do online in the comfort of their own home in terms of how they actually go around investigating and researching things. Why is that so useful to students?
Well, it's very useful to students because you get to see material you wouldn't even get to see at a brick university. If I were teaching at a brick university and wanted to show my students an Apollo rock, I could get one thin section. But in the virtual microscope, they can look at all of them as soon as they are digitized. Apollo 11, the first mission, is completely digitized, so they can look at rocks they would never, ever see otherwise. Even as a researcher, I have to write a long proposal to get these rocks, and that's because they are so precious. And that's why NASA, together with us, has decided we digitize them, we make them available to everyone, and these rocks are used for research in the virtual microscope, and for making decisions, I want this one and I want this to study this further, and they can be used in teaching.
So it's not just about the fact that this is a distance learning. The way that we're researching things has changed by digitising images, in the same way that we used to have microfiches and now we have online libraries. I guess the same thing is happening with moon rocks.
The same is happening with moon rocks. The same is happening with a lot of technology. Just imagine talking to people on email and being able to send your entire document and not having to seal up an envelope. And that's for teaching, but that's also how research is going.
Brilliant, excellent. Suzanne, thank you so much for coming in and telling us about that. I hope that you get a chance to go and have a look at that at some point in the day. It'd be very interesting to see what you think about that as well. And in our session tonight, we have Dave Rothery, Suzanne and Simon Kelly talking about various aspects to do with space. Space is always a very, very popular session, so I hope you can join us tonight for that. Lovely. OK, so the next person that we have is Armando Marino, who is going to talk about the Open Engineering Lab. Now, it seems like we're piloting a lot of sessions, or trailering a lot of sessions even, because we're going to be talking about remote access. So welcome. Now, you guys have some very interesting things that I've discovered, including a robot. And we have some widgets as well, which we're going to show you up on the screen. So we're going to tell you when we're going to use those, but you'll see two of them. One is what do you see in this picture? Obviously, you haven't seen the picture yet, so don't fill that one in. And do you think Baxter is? So again, we'll fill you in on that. Sophie and HJ, how are things going?
Really good. Yes, we're planning a mission to Mars, the Student Hub mission to Mars.
Good.
Yeah, and we've also had, I think it was Dee, who loves your laugh. So it's good for her health.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Dee. Oh, good. I'm always told off that it's too loud.
I think we're definitely looking forward to maths challenges. Sophie perhaps more than me, because Sophie does maths. But
yeah. Have you got all the answers, Sophie?
I
haven't had a chance to look at them yet. I'm going to embarrass myself again.
But we're very interested about Suzanne's session tonight as well, and yes, we're probably doing Mars mission, I think.
I think
That'll
so.
be it. Do you
I
think
get to
we
drive
could
the
broadcast
rockets.
from Mars? Is that too hard to do? Or
Look, you lot haven't even got to Comic-Con yet. Do that first, then we'll see about Mars. Right, OK. Armando, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
Good, good, excellent. Now, tell us about some of the experiments and, well, what's happening in the Open Engineering Lab.
Yep. The Open Engineering Lab, the lab that we are setting up here at Milton Keynes campus, is a remotely accessed lab, so students will be able to access it from their home, wherever they are in the world. But before I start doing that, I would like to to show students this picture.
Okay.
And to see if you know what is here.
Okay, so what do you see in this picture? Your options are a pendulum filled by a webcam, a duel between a webcam and a red stick, a pile of boxes. I can see you're not a very sensible Open Engineering Lab, and a pendulum being controlled in the Open Engineering Lab. Okay, so we're going to ask people at home, and let's see what they say. Right, OK, so we've got 53%. Now, I don't know, is this the right answer or not? I don't know whether you can see it's changing all the time.
Most of them are right. Is it a pendulum? And it's filmed by a camera. This is the pendulum. This is the equipment we are controlling. And this is a camera, so we are grabbing picture from this pendulum. I'm afraid it's not a duel between the pendulum and the camera. There will not be any extraction of weapon or like robot war things. I'm afraid we cannot do this in our lab.
No.
There is a pile of boxes. Nobody noticed it.
Okay.
But it's not really the main things of the picture. What is really here is a pendulum that is controlled in Open Engineering Lab. It's one of the experiments that the student will be doing in our lab. This is attached to electrical engineering curriculum, and at level 2 there is an exam where they have several experiments in our lab. They will connect to them through our server, and students will be able to see an interface. Looks like this. There is a camera showing the experiment going on. There is some dial or some field to feel where you can control the experiment. So you can have the experience of controlling some hardware from wherever you are in the world.
Wow.
The cool things of this, that is pretty quick. We tested it from New Zealand, from the US, and it was really immediate, really fast. So this is important for us because if the things react fast, you have the feeling that you are in control of the hardware. If it takes too much time, too much delay, you don't feel like you are really controlling the hardware. So we are quite proud of this, and I'm sure students will like that.
How does this work then? So people are actually controlling this pendulum,
Exactly.
which is
Yes,
here in
from
Milton
home.
Keynes.
Yes.
And this Open Engineering Lab is something that's being developed right now, and you're developing a whole range of equipment and technologies there. How does that work then in terms of times? Do people get allocated a slot? What happens?
Yes, there are modules where you will be asked to do experiments. You have the opportunity to do these experiments, and you will have slots. The students will have slots when they can book the lab for 4 hours, and they can test, do experiments, and play with the equipment from home. They can try, but there is some security system that I don't think nobody will be able to break it.
Okay.
But we appreciate the attitude to try for it.
Okay, so they're all going to come and have a go. Now, there's been a lot of investment in this area. Why are you guys doing this?
Because we believe that it's very important in curriculums like engineering or science that also the student has access to hardware, that is the feeling of controlling the hardware, because this is also what industry asks, to control these things. And so that's why we are building up these remotely access labs, when students can have can control really the hardware, they can have this experience.
Okay, so they can actually then come out with their qualification and say, right, I've had experience with this sort of equipment. So that's one thing that you've done. Tell us about Baxter.
Oh, there is some more. Yeah, and this is another widget full of widgets.
Okay. So we've got the widget ready here, and we'd like to know your thoughts on: do you think Baxter is a robot, red and black, friendly, or hard to control?
To answer? Okay. The most of you are right, I think. Nobody's wrong here. Very good. It is a robot. Well done, well spotted. And this red and black also is good,
yes.
good spotted.
He looks like a robot, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Why is his name Baxter?
Well, just a name, I think.
Okay,
I don't think there is a reason. But speaking about friendliness, it's really friendly. If you are into interaction between robot and human, you will think this is one of the most friendly robots in the world. It's leading the way how human and robot can work together in work environment. So it's really something quite important for industry. And it's definitely not hard to control, as you just said. If you are, again, in the electronic engineering curriculum, you will given to play with Baxter in level 3. So you will be able to control it and make him do funny things, interesting things. Not funny.
Wow, excellent. Okay, this is really good. Thank you so much for coming on and filling us in about this. At the next Student Hub, can you bring Baxter?
I think
we want to see Baxter, don't we? We'd love to see him in the studio and see how friendly. Really, he can dance?
He can dance.
Wow, excellent. I think engineering, I think I've missed a trick here doing psychology. Okay, very exciting. Thank you for filling us all in on this. So check out access on the Open Engineering Lab. There are some links on the website under the resources page, so you can have a look at those. And of course, these are becoming part of the curriculum as we're moving forward, but very exciting to see some of this investment. All right, thank you very, very much to all my guests who've been in this news section. It's been a bit full on, hasn't it? But there's lots going on here. It's only a snapshot of some of the things that the Open University are doing. Next, we have some maths challenges. So to prepare you for that, we're going to show a little video break, and we're going to look at secret rules of modern living algorithms. So we'll be back soon with some fun maths challenges that I know Sophie is really excited about. So let me see if I can find the answers in the break. We'll see you in 5.